And welcome to another edition of Trader Talk TV. Today we have another episode of The Road to London, where I talk about specific business models I would like to build outside of Exchange Wire. Today I'm going to talk about the supply side network. And we have Nigel from AppNexus in the office today. Nigel, thanks for coming in.
Pleasure, thanks for the invite.
So this SSN idea is not new. It's an evolution of the ad network model. And we're going to talk about it first, Nigel. So I would like to aggregate a bunch of sites.
Yep.
A specific area we haven't really talked about, maybe agriculture, maybe Gaelic football,
Yep.
maybe something else. But maybe we should define what we talk about an SSN. What does it mean?
I think that's a good idea. A lot of people may not know this who are watching this, but of course you used to work for an SSN, didn't you? You ran a chinwag.
That's correct, Nigel, yes. Back in the day I wouldn't call it an SSN, it was more like an ad network model, pure play, where I aggregated a bunch of telco sites, telco enthusiasts, and selling it into agencies. And what a horrible experience it was too. But that's not how I would define an SSN in this day and age. I think that AppNexus works with a bunch of interesting companies, namely Gourmet Ads, who aggregate supply and data and build a niche product for buyers, and using sort of the programmatic environment to help improve yield and deliver performance for advertisers and deliver money for publishers. So that's what I mean by an SSN.
Sure. Vertical
speciality, data focused, and inventory data focused as well.
Yeah. Okay. I would agree with that definition as well. I also used to work for a company that aggregated premium sites. Back in the day, that was a company called Unanimous.
Oh yes, it's the home of many programmatic geniuses and legends.
It certainly was. There's lots of very successful alumni across the market. But before we do that, then something we used to try to establish was what are the actual core methods of selling inventory, packaging and selling inventory. If you're a publisher, if you're a supply side network, what are your options? So let's list them up here. We think there's four options.
Right.
The first one would be brand. So what we mean by that is, if you're a publisher and you have a particular brand that means something to the advertiser, of course, you can sell just on that. A good example would be Bloomberg, ft.com, for example. So brand is the first. The second would be volume. I think this is well understood. You may not have a fantastic brand or something that delivers a niche audience, but you might be so big that, of course, you'll perform on behalf of certain advertisers. The third will be audience. So again, if we take these in isolation, you may not have the strongest brand or a very well-known brand. You also may not be the largest site, but you may be able to deliver a unique type of audience. So for example, in tenders for automotive or for finance. And the final method of monetization would be, let's call them custom opportunities. So what I mean by that is, well, frankly, there's a variety of options there. It could be custom creatives. That's probably quite a common one. It could be something related to the service model that the company you're working with can represent. But if you're some sort of publisher or sales organization, then you need to leverage one or ideally all of these in order to deliver monetization. And quite often what you find is supply-side networks, certainly in the programmatic era, will be leveraging companies that may not have sales teams of their own. So it could be that they don't know how to use technology. It could be because they've got so much volume that they don't know how to monetize all of that, and they need help. Or it could simply be that they have unique audiences, but they can't get into see buyers, or maybe it's just non-core for them. So we would put it into one of these four.
So let's talk about how someone like myself could build an SSN on top of the AppNexus stack, right? So obviously, I'm not looking to raise 100, 200 million to build out the next platform, because that's not what I want to do. But I have a collection of maybe 50 to 100 sites and maybe 10 to 20 million uniques, with maybe about 300 or 400 million impressions a month, right? And these are specific sites. So I want to know how my SSN can be built around your stack.
Sure.
So let's tell me how you do that.
Yeah, great. So you're right, we do have a lot of companies that we work with in this way today. Companies like Gourmet Ads that you've already mentioned. High Media in France is a good example. Web Ads, of course, in the Netherlands.
Venatus today still working with you?
Venatus, of course, in the UK, another good example. So putting it in a simplistic form, AppNexus represents a platform in the middle of the ecosystem, if you like. you could consider this to be an optimization platform.
Yeah.
And in AppNexus case, it's built entirely on what we call open APIs.
Yeah.
Now you've reassured me that the audience that are watching will know exactly what that means.
That you do.
So we won't go into any detail there. Yeah. But in our case, they're very well scaled, very well documented, very, very easy to use. So if you're a supply-side network, the chances are you're focusing on audience, quite possibly volume, and certainly custom opportunities.
Yeah.
You may have built your own brand as an organisation, but the chances are you're not monetizing on behalf of an FT, or a Bloomberg. So you're going to need probably 4 core opportunities that the platform can support you with. The first one would, of course, be, let's start at the top, data. So again, in terms of data, you've probably got 3 options. The first one would, of course, be your first-party data. As a supply-side network, you may have been able to aggregate audience from the site.
Yeah.
The second one, of course, would be third-party data. And in that case, you may work with another supplier that can deliver you segments, and then you're able to overlay those and create additional segments. And then thirdly, you can build up custom data. And again, with a platform like AppNexus, we provide a significant amount of what we call log-level data, which supply-side networks use quite freely to build up custom targeting opportunities.
Okay.
And the more custom targeting opportunities you can build on the site, of course, the more optimization modules that you also create. So that also means better performance.
Yeah.
We can talk more about that second part. Then you have inventory. So in this case, you're probably inputting inventory from sites that you manage.
Yeah.
So as a supply-side network, you've probably got a portfolio, in your case, of Gaelic football sites.
Yeah.
I'm guessing these are the leagues.
Yes, it's like, and these are very well visited sites.
Give us an example of one of those.
Hoganstand.com is good.
There we go. There we go. So that could be this one up here.
Yeah. It's about
Did you say Hoganstand?
Yeah, it's about the only one though. Really.
Okay, let's put them there.
Yeah.
And let's assume that there's a portfolio of sites just like that.
Many portfolios. Yeah.
There we go. And on those sites, of course, there's an audience that you're going to want to deliver. But the inventory needs to come into the platform, so you've got a place that you can actually manage that and again optimize. But not only that, of course, not only the ability to manage the data, but you need connectivity to, let's refer to them as bidders. In the programmatic era, of course, that's the source of demand. And bidders could be ATDs or ITDs. They could be DSPs. They could also be ad nets.
Yeah.
And in this case, of course, you're going to have your inventory connected to sources of demand. And in the case of AppNexus, because of course we have these things on the same platform, we have our own bidder connected.
Yeah.
A sophisticated supply-side network can use their data and their inventory with an AppNexus bidder to create significantly improved performance, even on their managed campaigns. And that delivers what we call holistic yield management to the publisher.
So is there an opportunity then for me to kind of, like obviously I don't have a sales team, right?
Right.
I don't really believe in selling to agencies, it's just not my thing.
Okay.
But is it possible to, are there companies who are just using you to aggregate supply and to connect to demand within the ecosystem itself?
Absolutely. So in this case, the core business model could really be use data to enable targeting opportunities across your inventory, make it available for sale to bidders.
I guess the other thing I was going to ask you though, obviously data is such a huge part of this, right? It's really important that you understand your first party data and obviously the other bits and pieces. But these APIs connect into like DMPs, I mean, my idea is to kind of build a DMP so I can segment first and third party data so I can improve performance.
Yeah, which is a good business model to create. Yes, of course. So in our case, for example, we connect to any data management platform that the publisher or the SSN may already be using. Yeah. Like let's say a Crux or an Audience Science.
Yeah.
We'd have server-to-server integrations with them.
Yeah.
Absolutely. In the case of third-party data, of course, again, there's lots of companies that can provide this. Experian or Exalate, for example. And then the custom data is something that you would create yourself, and that could be your own cloud. Your own cluster where you're building things and then just pushing it back into the platform.
Okay.
So yes, all of the connectivity is here. And likewise, all of the connectivity to the bidders. And of course, not just your own inventory, in this case your portfolio, but also third-party inventory like Google AdX or let's say a Programmatic, something like that. Yeah. And the inventory that could be sitting on those platforms. Yeah. So again, you can see the business model that a sophisticated supply-side network could create.
Yeah.
So there's one final part to this,
Obviously.
which I think in programmatic terms has now become very significant and a way of really creating differentiation,
Yeah.
which we can put down here and call customization. So where you have a need to create some type of differentiation, you don't necessarily have the brand, you may not even necessarily have the largest audience, although scale is still pretty important even in verticals. But you're going to need to be able to give a good service offering to the publishers you work with, and also a strong reason for people to transact your inventory. So great examples of customization that we see would be things like creative units. So you can create your own way of delivering ads on pages, such as native. And we'll have businesses that we work with in France, for example, who would be able to create native placements on their portfolio of sites and then transact those to the bidders. A business called Quantum.
So I've heard of Quantum, yes. So if in theory I could actually create a native ad, maybe the shape of a Gaelic footballer or a hurler,
Something like that.
and serve those on those for higher yield, because obviously it's a rich media experience. So so there's an element of people, I can get demand here, programmatic demand here, buy the custom ad and then serve those ads on the pages basically.
It's exactly right. Exactly right. And in some cases, this could be proprietary technology that these guys have built. They may work with a third party. But again, the APIs make all of these different levels of sophistication possible. Another example would be custom reporting.
Yeah.
So what I mean by that is the publisher may have different ways of looking at their inventory and looking at their revenue. And because, again, of their ability to input and export data, the SSN is able to fit in with the way that these publishers might want to work.
Yeah.
Again, other examples could be things like custom UIs, user interfaces.
Yeah.
You can actually enable the publisher to traffic their own campaigns, but perhaps in a very simplistic fashion. So there's lots of opportunities here. The customization list could really go on.
And you could join all these together. For instance, if you build that custom creative, you could build a custom UI to help these guys build more and actually do some buying themselves.
Is exactly right.
Yeah.
When you actually have all of these opportunities, particularly in the same place, then it becomes effectively a limitless suite of business models that you can create, as long as you know what you're doing. So these days, the SSN that we see in the programmatic area is very sophisticated and much more advanced than perhaps when you and I were doing this.
It wasn't very sophisticated. But is this becoming more and more important given the fact that you're seeing increased competition in these two areas here, data and inventory? That this part is becoming the key differentiator?
Yeah, I think so, because it's now not just something that people are experimenting with on the side. It's something that's actually now core to the publisher business or to the seller's business. And so to be able to consolidate it and to be able to create differentiation is critical to leveraging the most of your inventory.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much for the run through, Nigel. And I look forward. Thanks very much for the free license as well in AppNexus. And I look forward to launching our new SSN very soon. And we'll see you next week at Trader Talk TV. And Nigel, once again, thank you very much.
Thank you.